And we are live. Completely forgot about the 40-second delay, but that is totally fine. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live APAC. We're live. Before we start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, create, and learn on today, paying respects to elders past, present, and emerging. If you're tuning in on anywhere else, pop on over to behance.net/live. That is where the live chat is happening, where you can ask any of your questions. And those questions you can ask to our wonderful guest coming back for the second time, Jeff Chen. Welcome. How you doing?
Good. I'm feeling excited and really ready to go and finish off this illustration we started.
Fantastic. So to quickly recap, we are doing kit bash illustration, which is a concept that I knew previously from 3D and miniature modeling, but it's essentially, you have all these figures and sometimes just photos, and then selecting out and mashing them all together into an amazing illustration. And that is exactly what we did last time. And now we're gonna refine it and render it out. So without any further ado, should we get started?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Let's go. Flynn, beam us in.
All right. So I think the screen's being shared now, right?
It should be, yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we can't see it just yet on the live, but we are all ready to go. Yes, I've got the okay from Flynn.
Okay.
We are all set.
I will talk quickly about the process just to recap where we're at. At the moment, we are here. This is exactly where we left off. I did one last change, adding this little spike on the head. But before we got here, we had these pieces that I took from another illustration that was a dragon that I drew. And we used these pieces and pasted them together to create this character. And there was minimal painting. I think just the black parts are the parts that I added in to create the form of this demon looking guy. And the rest of it is really just given to me from the pieces here I used the transform tool to push it around until it gave me interesting shapes that I felt would be good for this character. So a very fun process, but there's a lot to do to make it look good from here still. We still have to make sure that we didn't see any weird cut lines like this where I've pasted it so it doesn't look obviously kit bashed.
That's right.
Is that a good intro?
That's a fantastic intro. Did it
Awesome.
better than me. You started right on time.
All right. So from here, I'm just going to keep going with the rendering, add some lighting, and as I said, fix up those weird cuts and all that. And I'm looking forward to all the questions you guys have about rendering or about that process beforehand. And I'm just gonna get to it.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna let you get to it. But to repeat what you just said, if you guys have any questions about what Jeff is doing right now, in terms of how he's blending in and rendering and sort of approaching lighting later on in the stream, feel free to throw all your questions in the chat and we'll get to them, hopefully all of them, as good as we can. Now, speaking of chat, I'm going to say hello to everyone here. We have Flynn, of course, the chat mod for today, and very kind to message me you're live, let's go. When I clearly was not ready, but I'm ready now. Then we have Steve, as usual, fantastic. We have Anthony Sims, oh boy toy, who's a fantastic human being and has a Patreon photographing toys, which is very exciting. We have Anna as well, also a lovely friend of mine and a fantastic illustrator. And Jessica, fantastic. So
hey,
welcome.
Welcome.
Now, in the last stream, we did get some name suggestions for this character.
Right, yes.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
I wrote them down, and I think we'll run through them a little bit, and then as we go, if you guys have any more suggestions, names, feel free to throw them into the chat, and I think towards the end we might even decide on one for this character.
Yeah.
So our suggestions are Susan, Tatonka Raven Blanco, Mr. Slice and Dice Man, another one of mine, Seva, and Tracker. So those are our names, but welcome to throw in any more into the chat, and we can talk about them. We can try it out and see how it fits, and continue making this fantastic illustration.
Quick note on where I'm up to. At the moment, I'm using a multiply layer with a bit of a blue to add shadows, and this is the process of adding lighting. Before that, I wasn't really considering lighting at all because I'm focused on design. So separating those two steps makes it easy for me to sort of process each one separately. And doing that makes it so much easier to just focus on lighting and not have to worry about design as I go. So I can make it look convincing that it exists in like 3D space and has proper form.
Yeah, that's incredible how just immediately like one shade makes it absolutely pop. That's fantastic. That's a neat little trick that I'm gonna borrow that trick.
Yeah, definitely.
Because initially it was all about finding the right values and finding that balance between high contrast and low contrast sort of colors and things. So yeah, this is I don't think I've ever seen it approached in this way before.
Oh really?
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in the sense, I suppose that of not thinking about lighting really at all, and then thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting approach. Looking into the chat again on some names. Let's see. We have Wayne.
Wayne, very
Wonderful.
good.
Wonder if
I can't resist those plain names. Like they always get me.
The plain names are just, it's like naming your dog like Wilbur or something.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So endearing. We have Darren. Wonderful.
I have a Darren.
Oh, you know a Darren?
I wish I knew a Darren.
You'll wish we knew a Darren, I think. Darrens are great.
Yeah.
We have Anna saying, "Ooh, I love seeing the paint over the images. It really quickly transforms it." And yeah, it absolutely does. It's really interesting to see all the kinds of different shapes that you can expand on and sort of find and discover in your illustrations, because this started out as just any other drawing, and now it's an entirely new drawing.
I could find the original if you guys want to have a quick look as well. That might be
that would be fantastic. And wondering, chat, if you can find the different pieces that we cut out from the original image. And
here's the original.
There we go.
Here's the pieces. So it's
you
pretty
can really
clear.
See the sort of the color aspects that you brought out.
Yeah. It's really bringing out the main features, right? Like there's a lot of plain areas in this, lots of resting space, and that's not too useful. I think the really cool features are the parts we want to use, and that gives us a lot of like high detail, a lot of high detail, so that when we start to paste it around here, we don't have to focus too much about bringing in detail since it's already given to us from those pieces. Yeah,
that's a really, really good point. Like the texture and sort of the materials is really what you're comprising the illustration of, instead of, well, here's a space of white that I'm gonna paste in. And that's a great tip as well for anyone wanting to try out this method at home.
Yeah.
And the great thing about this as well is even though you've made a new illustration, we can do the exact same process and again if we should like. So there's elements of this creature over here that you could use in an entirely new illustration.
Exactly. And like the whole process of this is really awesome for people who struggle with coming up with ideas, because it helps like generate ideas for you basically. If you don't know what to draw, you can just try this technique, and then you'll find shapes that are interesting and then move forward from there. When I came into this painting, I had like demon in mind, but I didn't have the pose and like the exact look. There wasn't anything visualized on my end. So the process you guys saw is exactly what I went through with trying to discover what this piece would be.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like it shows how sort of inventive and flexible the creative process can be, because if you'd given the same cutouts to a different illustrator, and I saw here in chat that there's some illustrator buddies of Flynn that are very keen to try out this method, and myself included, that give two people the same pieces, they will create two entirely different creatures or just artworks at the end of it. And I think that that's really cool. It's a fun game to play as well with your illustrator buddies.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like a good challenge, like to set up with your friends, or if you have like a Discord server or something, you can play with them.
Speaking of Discord, you have a server and we have a server as well, but let's focus on yours. What can people expect if they join your Discord server?
We're more about like art growth, but not only focused on art. Like there's other aspects that I guess it's sort of like an extension of what I like. So gaming and like movies and all that, anime. We like to chat about all that kind of stuff, since it's like part of the influence. It influences our art, and we also talk about like art growth and like give critiques and do challenges. At the moment, we have weekly challenges for concept art. So I host something called Concept Club, where we get 3 images and we have to create a new image based on 1 to 3 or all 3 within 1 hour to get like our brain practicing the concept art thinking.
Fantastic. I wonder if now this kit bash workflow is going to make it into the next challenge.
I'm thinking about it, actually.
Amazing. Well, I'm gonna, on behalf of the APAC Discord as well, put out this challenge to any of us illustrators or non-illustrators in there to try out some kit bash illustration, because as you can see, it is pretty fun.
Definitely.
Let's see, going back to some names, and I'm gonna do my best trying to pronounce them because some of them are very creative. Let's see, Dionysus, I think, which sounds like a Greek god or a Roman god. But I'm sure someone in chat will fact check me on that one. But great one from Jessica. Then Matthew says, I think we should call it Matt, which sounds a little biased, but you know, we'll take it into consideration.
Wonder where they got that name.
Later saying, don't ask me how I came up with that. Okay, we won't ask, but you know, we can tell potentially. Anna likes Susan, fantastic. Anthony says, Diane slice this. That's pretty cool. Sort of a very onomatopoeia practical name, because the Diane slice this will Diane slice you if you're not careful. Let's see, Susan, the destroyer of Morgoth. Fantastic from Anna. Then we have Felicity, Mangler of Worlds. Ooh, I like that one.
I love the titles that are being given, like after the names.
Absolutely, some Game of Thrones level sort of destroyer of worlds kind of vibe, and I am here for it. Let's see. Anna says, borrow that trick, never give it back. No, borrow that trick and then pass it on to more people. I always say, because sharing is caring.
All right, I've got the first pass of the lighting down, mainly focusing on the light direction, so we can hopefully tell that it's coming from the top left at the moment. I have a bit of like a lighter value for surfaces that are facing upwards to accommodate for like any secondary light, and that helps like the forms come out in the shadows. Yeah, so any top facing surfaces, I had like a little bit extra blue, and that separates the shadows a little bit further.
Amazing. And I see you started initially with quite harsh shadows, and then you sort of blurred it and integrated it more in the creature itself. And I think that it emphasizes the importance of variation and balance in the work and in the piece to really make it feel more rendered out. And sometimes if you want more realistic, you really have to think about how are these materials or the aspects and shapes of this character going to interact with each other.
Exactly, yeah. We have to make sense of the forms that we're creating. That's the other part that's difficult about this. You can paste all these cool shapes, but if they don't make sense with one another and work in space, then it's going to clash and it'll be very hard to tell what we're looking at. So this step is really cleaning that up and making sure that it all makes sense.
And do you have any tips or sort of your first approaches of how to make sure that you're really making those forms clear?
Yep, I think applying the similar shapes to, and like applying the right value to similar shapes. So in this example, anything pink is more feathery and light, same as the yellow. Anything white will hopefully look more hard surface, and then the black areas will feel more organic, apart from the horns in this case. So assigning that early can help separate and like help you manage in your mind how you want to set up your piece.
Would you, if you have, okay, here's a question. And then we actually have an excellent question from Flynn. How many materials would you have in any given piece? Do you feel like there's sort of a set limit that is the sort of Goldilocks just right, whether it's 2 or 3 different materials or maybe 6 or 7? What's your approach?
I think around 3 would be maximum. And you can have like variation in similar materials. For example, you can have metals that are more reflective, or you can have metals that are a bit more dull and like rusted, and that's okay. But yeah, going past 3 will start to get confusing, because if we're assigning values as well to these different materials, that means we're going to start to introduce more than 4 or 5, and it's that's going to get messy.
And especially considering the light source as well, of how different materials will react and reflect and refract the light as well. Let's see, now taking on Flynn's question. Has Jeff ever tried this method by creating the OG kit from someone else's artwork? So your kit that you started with for this one and was obviously an illustration that you had already made, but would potentially as a challenge or just trying it out, maybe swapping kits with the different illustrator?
I never thought about that actually. I have thought about using someone else's artwork, but like it feels weird if I haven't asked them. But I never thought about asking, like talking to someone like, hey, do you want to kit bash each other's artwork? That sounds kind of fun.
Sounds fantastic. Seems like we're coming up with great ideas for your Discord today, actually.
I don't even need to think about it. You guys have it covered.
This is what we're here for. But to that point, I just want to make clear that it's very important to, if you're using someone else's work, to make sure that you're using it correctly. So using it, if it's for studies or if it's for inspiration, that you check in with the artist as best you can to make sure that they allow their work to be used as reference or to be integrated into yours, because we're all about taking care of our fellow artists here on Adobe Live APAC.
People have been really good about that when they want to use my work for models or anything, like they want to make 3D models out of my characters. I get people asking me and making sure that it's okay first. And I think people are getting more educated about this as well, because even people who aren't artists are asking me if they can just use my work as their profile picture for somewhere that's not even online, which is funny. Just like their private account or something. And that's good to see. I think that gives me hope.
Yeah, absolutely. yeah, crediting artists and paying them for their work is very important, and we massive supporters of that here. Going back into the chat, let's see. We have Demon Dragon Ridges, DDR. Very, very cool.
Hey, isn't DDR something else?
Yes, it is. Dance Dance Revolution, right?
Yeah.
But to correct himself, it is Demon Dragon Riders,
Of
so
course.
not Ridges.
Oh.
Sorry, Anthony, I couldn't pass up on that typo, because you've done it to me in other chats. Let's see. And Dance Dance Revolution, and I got it right. And then Matthew saying, I like how you said some of the names are very creative, and then followed with Matthew said Matt. Fantastic. Well, I think Matthew, not everyone can pull off Matthew.
I definitely
so you have to be very creative in who you assign the title of Matthew or Matt, I think. And another question, and this is one that we get frequently, is Jeff using a particular brush or simply standard brushes? The brush question, which is very hard to say, is a good one. And what brushes are you using?
I have a big list here, and that looks very intimidating. I also have like another big list here that also looks very intimidating. But actually, all of this is done through the round brushes. So I have my harder brush, which gives me more paint to work with. That's like not very opaque. I have another one that's better for rendering that actually has a bit of a fade off with spacing. And then I use my soft brush, and just these three can get you very far. And understanding I would call them like the fundamental brushes, having like an airbrushy look, something for rendering and something harder for line work or something. That's all you really need to get started. Absolutely. And in this case, today, I'm mainly focusing on that render brush, so I can blend easier.
Yeah, no, I think we've all been there as artists and creatives, where if I only have this tool, then I'll make great work. And I think actually we talked about this in the previous stream with Yori as well, because it's almost a bit of a rite of passage for designers to realize that, your best tool are the tools that you have, and especially that's your creative brain. And that, yes, fancy brushes can make fancy work, but they're only really useful or good brushes if you know how to use them and use them in the way that complements your work.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I won't lie, there are some brushes that save me a lot of time, but still, if I don't know how to use it, then it's not going to accomplish anything. So understanding the fundamentals of what you're trying to achieve with the brush, that's the first step before you can use the brushes.
For sure. Keep the names coming, everyone. Flynn is keeping track of them, and then I think I'm going to ask him to send through top 3 towards the end, and we can decide whether it's going to be Susan and Matt, Tracker, who knows. But let's see. Let's check in. What are we still in the rendering phase of the illustration? Like, what is your focus on now?
I think creating readability. So there was a lot of detail. I was you can see where I was at before the render and during render. So I'm cleaning up this section so it feels more readable. You can see the light and shadow shapes help the feathery bits feel more like feather. And now I'm starting to kill off some detail in the shadow. So since I've established my light source, I can now pick where we don't need much information, which is most of the times in the shadow. So I'm starting to flatten that area. And that will, by flattening this area, will help us focus on these areas where there's high detail that I want people to look at. And that'll give us the illusion that the whole piece feels detailed because I'm sort of forcing them, not forcing the viewers, but like manipulating the viewers to look in places that I want them to.
Absolutely. Leading sort of the line of sight.
I'm like a magician.
Exactly. It's like, look over here, but don't look over here.
That's exactly how I sound.
Yes, I'm now a Jeff Chen impersonator.
Yeah.
I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday.
Look at me here. But I'm over here now.
I'm never where you expect me to be. I can be in chat. I can be hosting. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wonderful. To go back on another sort of fundamentals question from Anna this time.
Yeah.
What are some of Jeff's influences and or favorite creators? Jeff, you are the Jeff.
I'll take this one. Some of my big influences started off as anime, actually. I think my aesthetic is built off of that, but my interest in creating this kind of art came from video games and playing the games and then finding out that I could actually turn that into a career. I can be the guy that's drawing the characters that I like to play. And after looking into this career, I found artists that I did look up to, such as Anthony Jones or Robot Pencil, and Kekai Kotaki, who worked on things like Guild Wars and Destiny. And I think those are like the two bigger influences. Besides that, I think like there's certain art styles in game studios, such as Blizzard or Riot, that help me put my bar higher so that I can try to hit like their standards.
You bring up a really, really important point, and I think a tricky one as well, of being inspired and motivated by other creators, but or studios as well, but not letting that bring you down when you're creating work. So letting it be sort of the little booster pack on your in your backpack, but not using that to, I guess, critique or assess the value and the quality of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I think understanding and not downplaying like the amount of time that other artists have put into this craft is a big part of it, to help you wrap your head around it as well. If if you open ArtStation now and look at like the trending page or what's popular, then you're definitely going to get demotivated until you frame your mind to understand that that's like 10 years of experience there versus your 1 or 2 years, or in my case, like 6 years.
No, you're absolutely right. It's very easy, and especially on just the internet and on social media, to see someone's highlight reel or to see some of their work that they're posting and think, oh, this is what they churn out every day. Like, what am I doing? But truly, social media is the highlight reel. I mean, it is this is what I think is my best piece of work, or something that I just want to share with the world. And it's important to realize that when you're browsing, and to not get demotivated for your own. It takes time.
And there'll be the pieces that you don't see that aren't the highlights, that don't always turn out successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Luckily, this isn't one of the ones for me.
No, this one is turning out excellent. I always genuinely really enjoy when I was moderating your streams and now hosting as well, because you create such amazing and evocative pieces in this short amount of time. And obviously that's just a testament to the practice and the hours and effort that you put into it. But it's amazing to see what you come up with in such a short amount of time.
And that speed is something that, like, I didn't just come in here and I could just like pump out something really quickly in 1 or 2 hours. I did practice the speed aspect of painting as well, and that came from timing myself. And I did practice actually 1 to 2 hour paintings when I used to do daily art. So it comes with practice, even speed. You can be very detailed, but it could take you hours. But being able to manage, as I was saying before, like the illusion of detail, helping the viewer know where you want them to look, all that is like actually a separate skill from just understanding illustration and detail.
Absolutely right. There are many skills that illustrators and designers alike need to have in their tool belt. And can just focus on one at a time.
Yep, that's it.
But speaking of eyes, we have a comment here from Steve. Possibly glowing red eyes to draw the view into the head area.
We can do
That's
that.
an interesting suggestion of having sort of an eye-catching color to the eyes.
More red. Yes, and that's very anime, so I approve.
Yes, is it anime? We approve.
Yep. We're making a new layer, and I'll do the classic boom. I'll remind myself, and I'll make that look better in a second. Actually, that might be good for me to talk about like effects. I can add that in a second, but I'll leave it like that for now. I'll probably darken my background. As I work, I like to change like the levels of the background and all that, just to help my character pop out, especially after I add the rim light, which you guys will see in a second. So it's just another light source from the back to help that backside silhouette pop out.
That's a really neat trick as well, just pointing out that you started with, I suppose, a very dark background and then made it very light, so then as you go through the piece you can adjust how dark that background is. That's really smart. I don't know why I'm surprised, but that's really smart.
Just another day for me.
Just all the illustration smarts, never stops. And speaking of anime, we have another great question. What was your favorite cartoon character as a kid, and do you still like them now? From Denny.
So I started off with Dragon Ball when I was a kid, but I don't think I fully like grasped like the whole idea behind it before. Like the thing I got really involved, the anime that I got really involved with and followed from start to finish was Naruto, and I still am influenced from it. A lot of my artwork you'll see has like ninjas and like swordsmen and all that, and I think that all came from watching anime.
Absolutely.
Naruto, to be precise.
Yeah. And chat, I'd love to hear if you have any cartoons or movies or pieces of pop culture or culture in general that influenced you. Be great to hear. We are at, I believe, the 20-ish mark as well. So if anyone has any questions, please make sure to throw them into the chat so we can try to cover them. But this is also just a heads up that sort of about at the 20-minute mark is truly when the magic happens here in Just Stream. So, you know, we could be chatting along and having a great time, and then you hit that 20-minute mark, and then something, but there's a spark, a je ne sais quoi, and then it just goes into hyperdrive.
Yep, don't blink.
In my experience, anyway.
Speaking of the spark, it might happen soon. If I do the rim light, I think that's what will help this dark area pop out. I do want to clean up this sword first, though. I want to make sure all that is clean before I apply anything like rim light, because I think that's one of those things where like you apply it and then it'll be very hard to go back to where you're at, since it's pretty attention grabbing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's another great tip as well, just in making sure that you're, as much as you can, that your shapes are defined and sort of established before you put in the visual effect. Because if you merge a layer, or if you change your mind and want to change the color or something, it's going to be harder and more difficult, and potentially a bit muddier as well to do it later on.
Yeah, and a good way to work around that is what I just did just then. So I grouped everything and I merged it, but I kept the group separately. I duplicated the group and then merged it. So now I have a version before it got merged, so it feels less like feels more non-destructive.
Yeah. Yes, we are also great proponents of non-destructive working here. I am also a merge layers person, but it's definitely, like just commit commit to it to see where it goes.
Yep.
And it frees up my mind to try different things.
It builds confidence, basically. Without the confidence, you don't make those big changes as well. And that's pretty essential for concept art, because that lets you explore different ideas. And we're all about finding different ideas in concept art.
Absolutely. And once again, just so many good tricks here with is that layer mask that you're using to create the sort of the bandage?
Yep. So I had the restriction set to the handle, and then I put on, I click this, which is alpha locking. And then with alpha locking, I can just paint within the section that has pixels and not go outside of it. So I pick this red, I can't paint outside of what is existing on the layer. And then that can help me do the bandaging very easily.
Fantastic. That's a question that I have of, do I alpha lock? Do I clipping mask? But I can never decide which one is best for me, but it's a great tip. But let's get back to some more questions that aren't from me, because you all guys in chat have some great questions. Let's see. First, just a comment. Jeff, you're really building nice texture and levels from Steve, so I agree. But next question is, do you believe anyone can learn this, or do you feel you need a creative mind? I think a creative mind is always a huge advantage from Mick.
I think the creative mind can be unlocked for a lot of people. You just have to know the process of creation. I didn't just come to this stage and understand everything. I wasn't born like this either. So there's a lot of steps that I took to learn about creating this, and you just need that knowledge and education. There's a lot of stuff online. You can watch YouTube videos about it, and even just watching a workflow can help you find ways to design that you never thought about before, which can simplify it and take away a lot of difficult elements, like thinking about lighting and the unnecessary aspects, so you can focus on design.
Absolutely. It's kind of the ratatouille, anyone can cook
I believe so.
idea. And yeah, I agree. And it's all just about learning and keeping yourself a little bit at the edge of your seat in terms of what you're doing and the skills and everything that you're trying.
Yeah, I think art is more logical than most people think. There's a lot more thinking and understanding the science behind. For example, lighting is very much science than being creative. There is the design side, which is tough, but as I said, I think there's formulas to design, and you have to learn about the formulas in order to do it well.
Yeah, learn the rules before you can break them.
Yeah, types of contrast, all that. That's like an example of some of the rules you have to think about when you're creating.
Absolutely. And oh boy, are those rules fun to break once you know them.
Yep. All right, I'm going to start adding the rim light now. And this is where things will start to pop a little bit more.
Make it pop even more. It's what every client likes to hear, isn't it?
Make it pop.
Made a joke just to Flynn before we started the stream that we would, be sort of in your ears, like, yeah, make it pop. Let's do that. But no, this is fantastic as always.
I took it seriously. I didn't think it was a joke.
No, it's always a joke. Truly. No, but this is looking fantastic, and just the simple fact of adding rim light or adding an effect really then just amplifies the atmosphere of the piece with how soft or how sharp the lighting is. It's like, is it kind of with how shape language, if it's like pointy, it's an evil character, and if it's more curvaceous, it's a good character. I think lighting as well, whether it is sort of soft or very striking and sharp, can communicate the mood and the intentions of the character really well as well.
Yeah, it's dramatic lighting coming from the top, and then like having the face shadowed off. That's a good example of like a character that looks mysterious and scary, so you don't know if you should approach them or not. So I definitely agree, lighting helps so much.
And Flynn and Steve in the chat saying make it pop, and can you turn up the awesome a bit? That's the evil art director speaking, which them be fighting words, Steve.
My clients normally say, can you turn it down a little bit?
Imagine why they would say that. If you employ Jeff, you expect awesome.
Yeah.
That's my middle name. The awesome. And another speaking of question, or rather a statement or comment, and this is making me think a lot of Barbatos from Gundam. And I'm familiar with Gundam. I've watched a bit of it, but Barbatos I'm not familiar with. Do you get this reference, Jeff?
I actually never got into Gundam. I've seen a little bit as well, like you, but I don't remember the names of each of the mechs. Yeah, I can't. I'm not gonna totally.
There is a lot of anime to watch.
Yeah, there is.
We can only try to watch all of it, or to catch them all, as one might say, but
I don't think it's possible.
It is not possible.
Yeah.
To go back to another fundamentals question though, have you ever tried using Photoshop or Fresco on iPad to do this kind of work from Steve? Because you're using an Intuos, a Wacom Intuos tablet, right?
Yep. I haven't had a chance to try it on the iPad yet. I've only had a chance to try it Procreate, which feels similar to Photoshop, but yeah, never had. Like, I haven't really touched the iPad in a long time.
Yeah, there's something about I suppose the ergonomics of being able to use the Intuos, where your sort of posture and your hand is on the table and you're looking at the screen is really good. Too many a time have I got stuck drawing on the couch and just realized that my posture is sort of like this. It's not good. But
you can buy things that help you grip the iPad, I think, but I haven't got those.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm also
have I done that? No.
On the iPad.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a few things that I'm doing in case some people are wondering. So I had the rim light set to a white before, just so I could see it clearly. But then I used Control U, which opens up the hue saturation sliders. I turned it down in lightness in order for me to put. Actually, no. Let me go backwards. I'll turn it to white first, so I can talk about this. This is quite important. So if we open up the hue saturation slider when it's white, and we want to apply color to it, we can press colorize. And even if we try to add saturation at this point, it won't work because pure white doesn't hold any color in it. So in order to bring color to it, we have to turn down the lightness so that we have some value in there to use that color. And then we can turn up saturation from there and we can change the color. So we can find the mood that we want from just eyeballing like this. And I kind of like the blue, the purplish blue that I had. Makes it feel kind of sinister. So I'll keep that. And then I had a color dodge layer that is now boosting some of the highlights in the metallic areas.
Fantastic. And I see you added a bit of sort of a soft light as well to create a really cool effect.
Yeah, that's right. That's from the color dodge.
Amazing. And now chat and Jeff, we are at the 10-minute mark, so just a heads up.
Yep.
Heads up on that. But keep the questions coming in, the name suggestions, in about say 2 or 3 minutes. I'll ask Flynn to present me with 3 options, and then we can decide. Oh, the top 3 so far. Excellent. We have Susan, the Destroyer of Morgoth, Dion Slices, like that one, or demon dragon riders. So
Ooh,
3 excellent choices.
that's tough.
Mm.
I don't think I can be the only one to vote on this. I think you have to help me out as well, Johanna.
Oh, I don't know. As a host, I think I should remain impartial, but we'll see how good I am at doing that later on in a bit.
I think I'm leaning towards. I can't. My eyes are just drawn to the name Suzanne. I don't want it to be, but it's just such a plain name that I can't not look at it and consider it. I need someone to change my mind.
So Shazam?
Suzanne?
Oh, Suzanne.
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking like, I think that's a different cinematic universe.
Yeah. Okay, we won't pick that.
Shazam, no, but Susan is a contender. I am extremely biased, but let's see. Oh, Ridges. Okay, sorry, Anthony, I got that wrong. It's Demon Dragon Ridges.
Sue
Thinking
for
he's
short.
trying to correct them potentially, but Sue for short from Flynn. That's a great point. But as we are at the 10 now less than 10-minute mark, there is one question or topic rather that I really wanted to get your thoughts on, and that is, at the end of the day, when the piece is done and you're posting it potentially on social media, kind of what your thoughts are around that and the platforms that you post to, and maybe your thinking behind that as well.
Yeah, so I think for concept art, the number one place to go to would be ArtStation to post, but being everywhere is very important. Twitter, Instagram, and if you still use like other platforms like DeviantArt, like that's all useful as well. My mentality is that it's more of a tool more than it is something that you should base your art around. So just because you see trends happening doesn't mean you have to follow them and like use that to determine what you're drawing. I think you should enjoy the process of creating art, and it's all secondary, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the numbers don't matter as well. Like there's a lot of factors that influence how popular your piece becomes, such as like a lot of people talk about the algorithm favoring certain people or like favoring certain topics. So it's got nothing to do with skill. Sometimes it's just bad days. Like some people, there might be some event happening somewhere and then people aren't using their phones at that time. And that's very normal. So it's good to use and to post often, but don't let that determine whether you're a good artist or not, or like how often you should do it. That's not too important.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay.
But this has, from what we started with earlier, this has turned into another absolutely amazing creature, which I think we can now officially name Susan, or Sue for short, Destroyer of Morgoth.
That second part makes it a lot better.
I think just the complete package. We've got a nickname, we've got the first name, and we've got a title. That's all you need for a character design, I think.
Exactly. All right, I've added the glowing eyes as well. Do you have time to talk about that real quickly or not really?
I think we have time to talk about the glowing eyes for sure.
Okay. So I'm taking advantage of the gradient maps. So gradient maps can give you a good variation between different colors that are assigned to different values. So with this gradient map, I have a red that's happening that goes from pure black to pure white, and me painting within that range will assign this color within here. So if I draw a white, it's going to head more towards the red. And if you clip a gradient map to a black layer that's on screen, then you get really cool effects when you paint in between it from black to white. Basically it gives me this kind of glow, and I can change my gradient map to suit whatever color I want.
That is incredible and super. Just the simplest things that most people, or that a lot of people might not know, and harnessing that power for creative good.
Yeah, it's really simple, and it's so effective. You can do it so quickly. You can rewatch the video to see like what the layer settings are as well. You guys want to do that? But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up this painting then. I'm just gonna add some effects while the time runs out.
Fantastic. While you put the finishing touches, of course, thank you so much for coming back on for this 2-part series. For anyone, this is indeed part 2. I'm sure Flynn will send a link to the part 1 that we recorded on Tuesday, where we started out creating this fantastic creature. And the next question I have for you is, where can people find you on the internet and on social media, now that we've chatted about that also for a little bit?
Yeah, you can find me if you Google Jeff Chen Designs. I'll be everywhere: ArtStation, Twitter, Instagram, Discord. I have like my own Discord as well. Yeah, so if you simply Google Jeff Chen Designs, you'll find me everywhere.
Fantastic. I encourage everyone to do that after the stream has finished, because Jeff has created some really cool work. And then of course, with permission, perhaps people can kit bash, I should say, some of your illustrations and do some kit bash collaborations. I think that would be really cool. Yeah,
everyone's totally welcome just to use this and break him apart, break Sue apart, and to create a kit out of her, I guess. Yeah, totally welcome to do that.
Fantastic. Creatively break Sue apart. I think that it's a wonderful sentiment to end on. But no, thank you again so much for joining us. I see you're doing the final details here. Is there any, you sign your pieces? What's the sort of, when you've done this step, it's the end, because we are 2 minutes to the end now.
So claim it with a name. I like, oh, my fonts aren't loading. Come on. You can use this font and just throw your name on there so that everyone knows that you did it. That's actually very important. You should do that, so whenever your work becomes famous, people can find you very easily.
Absolutely.
And just hide it somewhere sneaky so people can't steal it and try to crop it out. Hopefully somewhere closer to your character. And make it nice and small. There we go. A little sneaky claim on my artwork.
Wonderful. Well, I think that is it for our time with Jeff and Susan. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back again, of course, next week with more streams. Please check out more of Jeff's work, and of course the Discord, and the current and future classes also that he's graciously bringing into the world. So once again, for the last time, thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.